Welcome to Yuno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, today we're doing a deep dive into some really foundational stuff, the core teachings of the Buddha. You often find these collected in texts like the Dhammapada, the words of truth.
Right. And what's really interesting, I think, is looking at this less as, purely religious scripture and more as this incredibly practical, almost ultra-rational philosophy.
Philosophy? How so?
Well, it's like a science for the mind, really, a very logical system for understanding and controlling your own mind to find, well, peace. It actually had a big impact on Western thinkers, too, like Schopenhauer, much later on.
Okay, so our mission here is to unpack that, understand the Buddha's diagnosis, you could say, of why we suffer, and then get into the practical, logical steps he laid out to deal with it.
Exactly. And the diagnosis, it really starts with the story of Prince Siddhartha, doesn't it? Leaving the palace, encountering old age, sickness, death for the first time, the shiku.
Yeah, the four sufferings. And that expanded, right, into 8 sufferings, hako, like the pain of being separated from loved ones or not getting what you desperately want, precisely. It all leads to this fundamental concept, isai kaiku. Basically, all existence is intertwined with suffering, or maybe better put, dissatisfaction. All of it. That sounds pretty bleak. So where does it stem from? What's the root cause according to this philosophy? It boils down to one core thing, bono. You could translate it as earthly desires, attachments, clinging. It's wanting things to be permanent when fundamentally they aren't. Attachment, we get attached to our health, our youth, people, possessions. We do. And that's where the suffering comes in, because those things inevitably change or disappear. This ties into another key insight, shohō muga, which means essentially that nothing exists independently. And crucially, nothing is truly yours, not even your own body. The Buddha makes this really rational point. If your body isn't ultimately under your control, if it gets sick, ages, dies, how can you claim true ownership over, say, your child or your money? Wow, okay. That's a radical shift in perspective. If you internalize that nothing is really mine, it must change how you react when you lose something or someone.
It dissolves the basis for that kind of possessive grief, yes. It's about seeing things objectively, not becoming cold or indifferent, but understanding the transient nature of things.
So if attachment rooted in a misunderstanding of reality is the problem, and the mind is where this happens,
Yeah.
what are the practical steps? How do you actually control the mind?
It starts with recognizing the power of thought itself. The idea of inga, cause and effect, is central. Your mind precedes everything.
Everything.
All your actions, your experiences. A defiled or untrained mind leads to suffering, just as the text says, the cartwheel follows the ox that pulls the load. The mind is the ox.
You have to steer the ox. Okay, so how does this apply to conflict? We see so much conflict, personal, global. Well, the teaching here is presented almost like a law of physics. Hatred never ceases by hatred. It only ceases by letting go of hatred. It's stated as a universal objective truth, not just a nice idea, but a fundamental principle.
Exactly. And applying that starts with yourself. Which brings us to self-conquest.
Ah, yes. The idea that the greatest victory isn't defeating armies, but mastering your own mind, your own impulses.
That's it. Forget focusing on what others did wrong, their faults, their failures. The real work is looking at what you have done or failed to do, where your mind needs adjustment.
It's all about internal responsibility then.
Very much so. And crucially, this whole path requires balance. Shogyō, the middle way. Remember, the Buddha himself tried extreme asceticism for 6 years.
Right, starving himself, pushing his body to the limit.
And he concluded it was useless. Just as useless as pure hedonism. Neither extreme works. The path to clarity, to enlightenment, required a balanced, objective approach to life. Not too much pleasure, not too much pain.
Okay, so you follow this path. Understand non-attachment. Focus on your own mind. Let go of hatred. Walk the middle way. What's the ultimate aim? The reward. The ultimate reward is described as escaping that cycle of suffering altogether.
Reaching nirvana.
Which means?
Literally, extinction of the flame being banu, those desires and attachments that cause the suffering. It's a state of profound, enduring peace where that fire is completely extinguished.
Extinguishing the fire of desire through rational understanding and mental discipline. It sounds like it requires constant effort, though.
It absolutely does. And that brings us to a final thought, really. The texts often contrast the wise person with the foolish one based on diligence. Diligence is called the path to immortality, metaphorically speaking.
And the alternative, constant idleness, mental laziness. It's likened to being as good as dead. So maybe the question for you to consider is, what small, consistent effort can you make today? How can you move even just a little bit away from that idleness and toward the clarity the diligent strive for?
Thank you for being here with us at Yuno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.